I can do it, man, like anybody can do it, for real. If I can come back from where I was, like anybody can do it. And I think that would be the message, right? The internet can give like basically like my profile is an avatar. That's not me. It's like a representation of me, but it's not my true self, right? And you, as much as you try to keep some authenticity in the things that you're doing, which I try to do, but it's still like it's just a digital representation of me in my life, and I'm not going to share every moment of my life online. I'm kind of private in that way too, and which seems counterintuitive because I do have this online persona. I don't know, man. Like that isn't who they are. This life is real. This like I'm touching trees and rocks every single day. Like
literally touching grass.
yes, literally touching grass and dirt and like in communion with nature. And if I can do it, like literally anybody can.
You're listening to the Art and War podcast with your hosts Nathan, B.R, and Paige. Nathan is a Canadian illustrator with a couple years of military experience. B.R is a British anarchist that moved to the States, and Paige is a lifelong artist based in Washington. All three are passionate shooters and community builders. Together, they run the Seaburn Art page. Enjoy the show.
Damn it! I was looking at you. You were looking at me, and now we just we fucked this cold open entirely. Welcome back to the Art and War podcast, where we are professional podcast hosts that do a very good job of always introducing our guests every single time. We haven't missed a single one.
Nope.
Awesome.
And then you didn't introduce the guest. God damn it. All right. So we are sitting down with Mr. Slade of Irregular Defense and a whole bunch of other things. A very busy man, former SEAL, now living the good life. Really excited to chat with you, man. So thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. Obviously, I'm a fan.
Thank you.
Appreciate
man.
that.
That means a lot. I have one question though before we get any further, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb as well.
All I have to ask, Slade, is did you ever end up beating the Teen Titans?
Yeah. Oh, Deathstroke. I learned all that from my kids. I didn't even know that Deathstroke was a character.
Hell yeah.
I grew up on that show. That kind of dates me a little bit, I think. Yeah, sorry, BR, go on. I feel like I cut you off from something that was actually important.
No, I was impressed Slade got the reference. No, so I mean, you've had like we were just talking about like a long stressful career, and now you're sitting out on your back patio and chilling on some land, living the good life with the family. So I guess how did we get there? You know, how you're a guy covered in tats. I saw the Misfits tattoo. How's like, did you grow up in kind of a punk rock scene or something, or?
Yeah, I played drums in like this shitty little punk band and played around with some friends, and like had a buddy that was like way into the street punk scene, and so we played around with some of that. And then I was like in this other band, and we described our sound kind of like the Vandals meets the Misfits.
Hell yeah.
And then like I don't know, man, I've just like have so many musical influences in my life, and music is super important to me. And I feel like that's kind of shaped some of my personality and the way that I look, I guess. I was like way into hair metal as well, like in high school, just because rock and roll ruled the world then. It was kind of cool. And then like, obviously like thrash and like just a lot of subgenres. And I don't know, man, like I love reggae too, though. So I grew up in Hawaii.
Me too.
So,
oh, nice.
It was like super like popular there. It's like the only type of music people really listen to is reggae.
So when you're on island time, you gotta, right?
Yeah.
So I fucking knew you guys would get along.
Yeah.
Like going from like the street punk kind of scene to the SEALs, how does that happen?
I was always kind of into the SEAL teams. My dad was joined the Marine Corps at 17. He was born in 1945, joined the Marine Corps at 17, and was like, hated it. So he figured the Army would be better. Went in the Army. He was a, E5 sergeant working at Fort Knox, and ended up going to Vietnam in like 68 as a door gunner. And then, fast forward, I'm born in 1984 and I'm growing up and I'm like, oh, military, you know, like all kids used to play. Like, I want to be a Marine because those guys are the toughest. And my dad was like, I don't think those guys are the toughest. He's like, there's these group of dudes that literally did whatever they wanted and nobody messed with them. This was my dad's description. And he would tell me, like, and my best friend growing up, his son is a SEAL. And these are the guys that you want to be if you're going to join the military. So immediately I'm just like, all right, Navy SEAL, whatever that is. And to start like buying all these Vietnam books and all this stuff, reading all the team guy stuff, and, you know, reading all the SOG books and all those things as a kid. And then, yeah, I started high school in 98. And then my junior year, it was like the whole 9/11 thing went down, and we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to join the Rangers because that'll be way faster to go to war than going to Buds. You know, one of those things. My mom at the time was like, hey, I've never heard you talk about that before, so you should probably not want to do that. And,
you kind of take him off guard with that?
Yeah. I mean, my parents were split up at that point, so it was my mom and my stepdad, and we're living in Washington State at this point. And I was like, okay, I won't join the Army. We'll just go see what this whole Navy SEAL thing's about. And I didn't have like a SEAL contract or anything like that. I was like, all right, I just joined, picked the first SEAL source rating that got me out of town. And yeah, I like went to MEPS like 6 days after I turned 18, signed up for the HT rating, which I don't know if you know anything about the Navy. HT, like the nickname in the fleet, are turd chasers, because you're like a plumber and a welder. So I was like, oh man, I better make it through this selection course. I don't want to go through the fleet. So fast forward, go to boot camp. I shipped out for boot camp like 19 March of 03, which was Iraq war kickoff, which was surreal. Like, I'm flying out, I'm in the Chicago airport, and they're like showing the invasion on TV, going to boot camp. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I guess we're in this war too now. And then, yeah, I went through the prerequisite Navy BS, Navy boot camp, which gets you out of shape. And then I went to HTA school, did that, then went to Buds, and thankfully like made it through and didn't get rolled or anything like that. And straight on, like that was January 04. And then that was like Indoc started, and then finished September 04, went to Army Airborne School, which was also like hitting reverse after going 100 miles per hour all the way through Buds. And then you have like the SQT pipeline after that. And I think that's like another 5 months or something. And then you just check into a SEAL team. And I was like 19 years old, or no, I had just turned 20 checking in the team. And yeah, it was again, like, okay, I'm here now what? And you like walk into this super old building. You're like, I thought this would be all futuristic and stuff. And yeah. It was super weird. And yeah, I don't know, man, like 2 pumps at Team 8, and I was a ground mobility instructor for a couple of years. And then I screened and selected for a different command after that. And I spent the rest of my time there. So I spent half my time on over at the Little Creek side. And then I went to another command after that for 8 years. And then I medically retired in 2019 after a few deployments and broken spine and shoulders and elbows. And yeah. But man, honestly, like, I wouldn't do it again, but I also wouldn't trade any of those experiences, right? Like, we all know that everything you go through ends up making you who you are today, right? And it gave me a different perspective that I would never have gotten anywhere. It gave me a lot of understanding of how things work. Like, I don't know, man, like Iraq 06, literally, what is it? Halliburton, everything, everywhere. You're like, I'm 21 years old. Like, wow, this is a racket. But yeah, I don't know. You sacrifice so much to get to there, and then it's like the people you're working with are amazing, and you like are liking the job, even though it takes a toll. You know, physically, spiritually, mentally, it ends up adding up over time, especially if you go the serious route during wartime, and you try to go to the places that are getting after it the most. And yeah, it'll wear you out over a while.
Yeah, were you very much like kind of a hard charger while you were in, like all about going to kind of like the higher speed stuff, or what was your kind of mentality during that time?
I wanted my actual experience to meet my expectations of what I thought it was going to be, and that pretty much only happens at one place. So that's where I ended up going. Thankfully, like I made it through there, and yeah, dude, that the level of training and proficiency and capability that happens over at that place is out of this world.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as qualifications. It's all capability. Like there's that place, you know, there's a lot of, I don't know, like if you've been in the military, everybody that comes through every single unit, to include like support aircraft units, they always have like these hoo-yah capability videos, just like dun 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 dun, and it's like, we can airlift so many people, dun 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 dun, we can drop this many guys, dun dun dun, and it's just like, I know that's BS, dude. Like, I know that those are like things that you possibly could do that might be in your mission set, but I don't think that you're truly capable at that.
Yeah, that's
so,
the sizzle, the sexy, like marketing kind of aesthetic of it, rather than like what's
the
actually going on.
Yeah. Everybody wants to say that they can do everything, right? And be super proficient at it. But the reality is it takes a specialized place to make those things happen, where like that is your sole focus. That's all you're doing. And it's a constant, like you're never not doing anything. Even if you're local, you're training local. Yeah. It never stops. But yeah, I mean, that ends up taking a toll, and you just, I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's, you've sacrificed so much to be there, and you believe in it so hard, and then once things start adding up for you and you're physically breaking down, that's when it's just like, man, I don't think I can keep doing this. Like, it got to the point where, I mean, I had 7 different ortho surgeries. I lost 2 inches in height in my spine from compression fractures.
Fuck.
And you're just like still going, right? Like, yeah, and it was to the point where I'm getting ready to take a team, and my wife is getting me dressed to go to work every day. Like, I couldn't even dress myself anymore. Couldn't tie my shoes. I'm like, how am I supposed to do these things that are expected? It's like, now I'm a liability at this point. And it is weird because so many dudes like suffer in silence because of like this unspoken, like, oh, you're going to say you can't do this anymore? That's basically quitting, right? But it's like, man, I'm 34 years old and I want to be able to play with my kids. You know, I want to, there's so much more I want to do in this life. And this is not forever. Well, I guess the teams are forever, but it's not like you're not going to be there forever, right? There's always, there's like this big mental thing. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to get my spine fused now. And my L5S1, this is like the final back surgery I'm going to get. And I'm not coming back after this. But it's such a weird dynamic because I didn't know any of like this medical retirement stuff. And the surgeon that had already cut me 3 different times was like, hey, bro, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but if you were in any other unit in the military, you would have been long gone up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't think you should. He's like, I know that like this is not something that you want to hear, but I don't think you should be doing this anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like,
like, dude, I worked on your spine 3 times.
two times. He was doing an elbow. He was doing like a twin elbow surgery on me. This guy. Oh, man. Yeah. So like he'd already done shoulder, and then I was doing like both my elbows to get my hands to work again. But then and then like the tag team spine surgery, they went through my stomach, right? Because it was the first spine surgery, they went through my back, and they cut muscles and ligaments and bone, and it just destabilizes everything. And then when they did the fusion, they went through my gut. And so it was like a tag team surgery. They had like I don't even remember, it was like a cardiothoracic surgeon do the opening, and then the spine surgeon's doing like the fusion up front, and then they close you back up, which is really cool. Like a year later, I have like this big bulge sticking out where like one of the scars is. And apparently they like perfed my fascia in my abdominal wall. So I had like this big ass hernia coming through. So I ended up getting that fixed too. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like it just beats you up over time, especially if you're just staying in it, like not taking any breaks.
Yeah.
And
We have a thing in the art and war where like I've noticed it over time. It's like we have a kind of a trend of getting like anti-state former former soldiers and veterans and whatnot who have really fucked backs.
it just keeps coming up.
Yeah, like Mitch, he had his compressed discs and everything, and is still requiring treatment for them, I believe. Everyone, but yours by far takes the cake for the absolutely most fucked up body that the military industrial complex could have given anyone.
It's not just me, man. There's so many dudes that are
Yeah.
there. Like our rehab facility there is top notch, of course, because they just want to keep you in the game, right?
Yeah.
That place. And yeah, like just you make a lot of friends from other squadrons and stuff because they're all like rehabbing together. It's like, yeah, so many dudes are getting hurt, and like I said, like you gave up so much to be there, and like it is just a total, I don't know, mindset shift. And I hate the word mindset, but it's just like you have to be all in, or else like those jobs don't get done over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like a common problem in the teams? Like people are just like you were saying, the surgeon set, like basically any other unit, they would have been like, dude, retire. But like the SEAL teams, probably because there's so much training and investment in you guys, they're like, nah, put him to work, put him back, he's fine. Is there a lot of that going on?
That's probably the most accurate description of exactly what happens there, from somebody who's not been there.
Mm. And then like I'm sure it's both the investment hanging over, and then the guys themselves, like the willpower to get yourself there is like, I'm not quitting until I'm done.
Right. Yeah, and that was the thing that kept me hanging on longer than anything. Was like towards the end, I was like, oh man, I don't know if I really believe in the mission sets anymore. Outside of, like you're in the military, you get handed different things. You can't always say no, right?
Yeah.
Like there is some autonomy over there as far as like pushback, but you're also getting some stuff from pretty high up that you can't say no on, and you're still just like, man, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But it's the boys that keep you coming back, because it's like this it's a sense of obligation, right? It's like there's a lot of survivor's guilt stuff that we go through as well, like, and that keeps you hanging on. You're like, dude, they need me, and then the reality is, man, it's next man up. I literally was like, talk to my TL, talk to my troop chief, and one day it was like 7 months of me wrestling with this. And my wife was awesome. She's like, whatever you want to do, I support you. Obviously, her heart was breaking every day because she saw how much physical pain I was in, the mental anguish of dealing with the physical pain and trying to keep up, and trying to stay at the top when like physically so far from it. But yeah, in the end, she was like, the decision is yours. Choice is yours. Always, it's going to be yours. And, that was awesome that she was there. And she, continues to be. But it was a lot of like mental fuckery, right? Like I'm dealing with all of this. Am I good enough? And that is a constant thing anyways. Like at that place that I used to work is like, dude, like even if you're coming in to do admin work, like gotta be on your game.
Yeah.
It's a hypercritical organization, but it needs to be, right? Like for it to be as good as it does, like it needs to be this machine. And like the reality of it was like, when I was like, okay, Slade, talking to myself, you have all of this understanding and awareness that it is a speeding train and you jump off, it's going to keep going, right? But there's also like the emotional aspect of it, and like that spiritual aspect of like, these are my boys. I'm abandoning them if I don't show up here.
Yeah.
Right. But the day that I was like, finally, all right, talk to my TL, talk to my troop chief, and we sat down, CO, CMC. It was like call sign off, name off the board, next man up. Just handed my call sign over and just was like, just like that.
Damn.
Unceremonious, like, hey, can you clean out your locker? We got some new guys checking in. Yeah.
Yep, on it. No problem.
It's
Cool.
a family
Yeah,
until they don't need you anymore.
Damn. So,
Yeah.
did I mean, obviously you got an awesome wife supporting you like that. Did having her and your kids and stuff kind of help you transition from like I need to be there for my brothers to I also need to be there for them. I also need to be able to play with my kids and that kind of thing.
Yeah, like I mean, you're basically absentee. Like I was gone 290 something
Yeah.
days out of the year while I was there.
I yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
grew up.
hard.
Yeah, my dad was military, but he wasn't gone that much. He was gone, 6 months here and there, 3 months here and there. At the most, he was gone twice in my life. He was gone for a whole year at a time. But for SEAL teams, I mean, you guys are like just always.
It's a treadmill, dude. It's a speeding train. That's what I've said. It's like the same. It's basically like a hamster wheel. Like, all right, I'm living my life in these. I won't say the month blocks, but by these month blocks, I already know like I'm going to be gone these many days. Like we would have our calendar on the board for like 2 years out, and you just all the space. There's no white space. It's just like this training, local, here, there. This cycle where you're kind of waiting for things to happen. So basically, you can't do anything then. And then there's always the deployment cycle, and then boom, start it all over again as soon as you get back. And then it's like 2 weeks pre-deployment leave, 2 weeks post-deployment leave, and then just hit the ground running again. So it's yeah, like it like I said, it has to be that way. Then that's like your higher self, your conscious, like, okay, I understand this has to be this way. And then it's like, just how long can I be here, and how long can I still be effective here? And there's dudes that, man, I don't know how they do it. They're there like freaking decades, for total studs. But yeah, and also like it's such a weird place for me to be in now. My heart breaks for so many dudes that are there that it makes you feel like you're stuck sometimes too. And I don't know, like it's hard to be in that much into something when you have a family, you have this, you have all of these other things, but those all kind of fall by the wayside if you're staying like locked into the team, right? And people talk about balance, bro. Like I honestly, especially like now they've gained like the 50,000 foot view being out, it's just like, that's a lie. Mm-hmm. You cannot balance. There's no such thing as balance if you're going to be effective in that organization. Yeah. So like getting hurt, you got a lot of downtime. So then it's like the mental side of it is like, dude, I'm so weak now. And it was just like, you just waste away to nothing. And then like rehabbing through, coming back and getting back, and then boom, get hurt again. It's just like, oh my God, it just breaks you, dude, over time of like, I just want to be here. I want to be good. I want to be strong. And then it's just like physically not able to keep up. So then it starts messing with your head real hard. And you're like, dude, I'm becoming a liability at this point. So it's just like, all right, this is what's happening. And then it's just like a long process too, to like go through that medical board. And it's just like, I don't know. It's very demoralizing. They cut your pay immediately. The second you say I'm not, they start your board, you lose like it's like quarter to a third of your paycheck because all your special pays stop. Yeah. So you're a SEAL in name only at this point now. Like they didn't pull your trident or anything like that. It's just all your special pay stop. And like you've, had up to this point a 16-year career doing this job. And obviously like you've built a life upon what your salary is. So that becomes like just this another level of, you're supposed to be a protector, provider, and a leader for your family. And now you're like, oh, but they won't allow you to go outside and work either while you're going through a medical board. So it kind of just turns into this thing where you get stuck, and it's a very tough process for guys to go through. Talking to other dudes that have gone through it, and then obviously me going through that. And then the transition out was probably one of the most terrible times of my life, like the most difficult thing, because it is, you're killing a part of yourself. Like that's an old self, and the understanding and realization that that'll never be you again. And you don't even know how to do this new life.
You grew up there.
Like you've been so, yeah. And like this is, I'm 18-year-old kid, like SEAL teams. And then it's like, I have this family, but I don't even know them really. Like in the way that I should, in the way that I need to be the best father, husband that I could be. And it's a constant process up until like every day I'm learning more. Every day I'm trying to be better. And dude, like, I don't know, like the chronic pain side of things, all the TBI stuff. And that's another thing that people don't talk about, man. I was a lead breacher and we're in the kill house like 2-3 days a week, live fire, live charges, you're jumping, free fall, like shotgun opening, all like these unknown offset DZs, full combat equipment, wall locker jumps. Like, I mean, you're weighing like 360 pounds when you're all kitted up with the parachute on and everything else. It's like, it's hard, man. Like over 1,000 jumps, and I hate jumping. And that's just like work jumps. Guys will go out and jump for fun, like on a jump trip. You're going to get like 300 jumps in a week if you want, you know, like it's just, it's a very different lifestyle, and it wears you out. And like more power to my brothers that are still doing it over there. And like all the respect in the world for those guys, because it's pain, dude. Like it's a lot of pain to stay in that game.
Kind of choosing to stay with it, right? Like,
yeah.
Is there did you ever have kind of like a adrenaline junkie part to you, or was that not a thing for you?
No, man. Nah. I mean, I grew up like surfing and snowboarding, like riding dirt bikes and stuff, but I don't like, I think about consequence a lot.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people and I come across a lot of dudes that just like, F it, we're going, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey man, I don't think that's so smart kind of thing. And then, I'm not like an adrenaline junkie. Like you're not going to see me jumping for fun ever again.
So I can really understand now. Like, I hear a lot about like mental illness within the special forces community and substance abuse and everything else. And I'm starting to understand and sympathize a lot more why that's such a problem. It also sounds like a lot of how this is put together. And we found this with Mitch a bit. And this is just my hypothesis from the outside. The system's almost made to try and make you stick with it as long as you possibly can, so they can wear you out as long as you can. Every single part of it.
Well, they want you. They want you there, right? Like you're like a franchise quarterback. Every dude that's at that place is like a franchise quarterback, right? So they don't want you to go away, because the investment, the time it took for you to get there, and then the experience gained at that level is like priceless to the organization. And there's obviously I'm not going to ever speak about anybody else, but me personally, dude, I was on like 7 different scripts, and that was all through Navy doctors. Oh, plus the self-medication, man. I was heavy in the alcohol. I went cold turkey, like while I was still in, bro.
I had pain meds as well.
Pain meds, psych meds, 2 different types of Adderall, sleeping pills, and this was all scripts, and then booze on top of that. And then it was literally, I'll say it out loud, it was the anniversary of Mikey Mansour's death, and he was my swim buddy, best friend, or whatever back in the day. And it's just like these anniversaries will creep up on you, and you won't even realize it, but you're not even, I don't even wear a watch anymore, but like you would have like this internal, like you would just feel it, and you would just, you know, and it's how many of these anniversaries do I need, right? Like how many of these dudes' names do I need on a bracelet? And then, I told my wife, I was like, I'm done with the pills. I'm done with the alcohol. And I went through some freaking physical withdrawals, mental demons, man. Like when I decided to stop drinking, I literally was like, had this burning in my throat for like 3 weeks. And I had like, I won't say it was like actual voices, but I was telling myself if I just took like this sip of whiskey, I'd be good. It would just calm that burn down. But I knew like if I said I was going to do this, and I had to do it. And it's been, since 2018, none of that shit. So
that's awesome.
And I mean, obviously I'm going to continue on that path.
I mean,
straight poison, man. Straight poison.
Yeah,
You
I
look great, man. So I mean, clearly,
no
it's
idea. You do not look your age. It's yeah. You can tell
Oh,
you take
thanks,
good
guys.
care of yourself.
BR here with a quick word from our newest sponsor of the show that made our first video podcast possible, the great people over at Attorneys for Freedom. Attorneys for Freedom are a real criminal defense law firm offering attorneys on retainer for legal representation in self-defense cases, and are not some insurance company or provider. This means that Attorneys for Freedom are able to cover scenarios that are often denied coverage by other programs. Self-defense scenarios such as while in gun-free zones or sensitive areas, while under the influence or on medication, scenarios where you knew your attacker, and while using any weapon in self-defense, from a firearm to a household object or otherwise. Additionally, Attorneys for Freedom will not drop you from coverage, nor will they ever ask you to pay them back. Even if you take a plea deal where you admit guilt to a criminal act, Attorneys for Freedom will not ask to recoup their fees. Attorneys for Freedom covers 100% of your attorney's fees in the event they can reasonably argue that you were acting in self-defense, and now you're facing serious felony charges. The primary key to coverage is their ability to reasonably argue self-defense in court. Nathan and I have signed up already, and you can too in no time at all. The National Self-Protection Plan is available with a one-time sign-up fee of $100 and just $35 per month after that. Family plans and annual rates are also available. Signing up via the link in the show notes or via the CBUNR Instagram bio link helps support the show with both your initial sign-up and every month you retain Attorneys for Freedom services. Get covered in all 50 states, support the show, and have peace of mind that should your worst day come, Attorneys for Freedom has your back. Thanks for listening, people. How's it going, lads and ladies? BR here with a quick word from the longest running sponsor of the Art and War podcast, Advanced Warfighting Solutions. AWS have been making tough as hell gear for decades right here in the US in North Carolina. Nathan, myself, and thousands of others run that gear through the ringer and trust our lives to it, whether that's LARPing in the woods or dragging kit through war zones. AWS manufactures many great packs, pouches, plate carriers, and our personal favorite, the SMU Operator Belt. A set-and-forget gun belt that crushes in build quality, capability, and excellent feedback from its many users. We are tough on our gear here at Art and War, and the SMU takes that treatment in its stride. Though already at a sweet price point, you can knock $10 more off your SMU belt with the code ARTandWar10 at awsin.com. The code and link to the AWS website can be found in the show description. Thanks for listening, now let's get back to the show.
Well, and that's another thing, man, like total lifestyle change, right? So
Yeah.
diet and the chronic pain, headaches and stuff, like we've managed this through diet and lifestyle changes. And it's just finally starting to come around. Like I was still considering getting surgery on my hands because my hands were so messed up. And like now I can open them, close them. I don't have like this crazy swollen, like arthritic knuckle and Dupuytren's and all this stuff. Because they shortened up my ulnar, I can't even remember. They cut these tendons, because I had like that tore and then wrapped scar tissue around my ulnar nerves, and like my hands were like closed up like this. And they just cut them both and debrided it and then anchor pointed, but it shortened up the tendon. So I like people that know me all day long, I'm stretching my hands like this,
Like a limber
things
up.
like that. Yeah, or else my hands will start to close up. But like, I mean, 100% organic, everything for us, zero seed oils. We cook everything in, grass-fed organic animal fats. Like it's very difficult. Like my wife was crying in the grocery store when we first moved here because we read every single ingredient if we're buying something from the store. And it was just like garbage. This is all poison. It's like almost like there's a whole system trying to poison the population.
I don't think so. That'd be silly. That'd be really silly. They're looking out for us. I love my bug food,
I would
my
think so, right?
GMO soy substrates.
Dude, we could go down all those crazy rabbit holes of who's doing what and who's owning what and who's benefiting from what, and all these chemicals and food supply and all these eugenicists that seem to have ties into the food supply.
It's kind of funny how that works. But the FDA says it's okay, and I trust the FDA innately. They're just looking out for our health.
Implicitly. We're from the government. We're here to help you, right?
They only have our well-being in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird, man. Like towards the end of my career, like I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but I will say that we would have discussions even on deployment about we were in these forever wars and we're just being used because we're like, dude, if they wanted us to win this war, we would have won this 15 years ago. Like, we could have ran through that place and won that war without everybody else being there, basically, kind of thing, you know, if they wanted us to be effective, and they don't. That's the sick, sad part of the whole thing, is they want the population to be scared constantly. I mean, the forever wars, whether it's us being in one or us just funding them to keep the system going, dude, it's like, when do people wake up and realize that that is what's happening? I don't know, man. It kind of scares me with the way that they're pushing things, especially like if we go into a real war. Like, I won't say that we weren't in real wars, but fighting an insurgency is not like fighting a near peer competitor. And it's like, my heart breaks for the guys that are still in, because they have no idea. The guys that I used to work with definitely know. They have an idea, but these young kids joining the military right now, they watch all this GWAT shit and they think it's all cool. And like, you can come out unscathed. Well, not anybody. Nobody comes out unscathed if you do it long enough, but physically, like, you're not going to, I don't know, just think about all the ways that we hunt and kill people. Now the other side has that, and you can't use all of the things that you use, like comms, like that's gone. All of your weapons and targeting technology is negated. You're going to get obliterated from standoff weapons you'll never even see. Like, the thought of full-scale war is terrifying to me, especially since I've got all boys. That's so terrifying to me, because if that happens, there's no way we're going to keep a volunteer military.
Yeah. Is that kind of something, have any of your, and you know, stop me if it gets too personal, but have any of your boys ever expressed an interest in kind of the military and all that? Like, oh yeah, Dad, your job was really cool.
Yeah, my oldest son, Michael, he really he's named after Mikey Mansour. Like, way into the gear and the guns. He's actually a really good shooter.
Yeah, you've got videos of him. He's quite good.
Yeah, like, so I'm just like, oh, thank you, by the way. And honestly, like, people think I train him all the time. The kid is doing his own stuff all the time, and he's doing it with airsoft guns. And then when it translates over to like actually running a gun, man, he smoke checks a lot of adult men that shoot. You know,
that's awesome.
I love that.
The thing is like, he was all in on it, and then he kind of saw what was happening to me. And saw the transition, and then we're so blessed. I mean, God keeps blessing us, and like, my boys are so open and understanding of all the hard changes we made. Like, we literally just uprooted our whole lives, sold everything, and we're like, all right, we sold a bunch of our stuff, bought a fifth wheel, hooked it up to my truck, and we're living in that. And then now we're homesteading, and it's like, they're constantly having to do physical manual labor, and all those snacks and everything, your diet is completely changed. But dude, they're so on board with everything, and
that's awesome.
It's like, yeah, Mikey's definitely not considering the military anymore. So, and it's not like me, and that's the thing, is like, I didn't want to be like, no, I just want to educate you.
You are forbidden. Yeah,
I want to educate you, and I'll show you that the military at this point, I don't think, is a viable option for my family. Yeah, I'm not, dude. I want to separate the service members from the military industrial complex, right? Like, I'm never going to talk shit on people in the service, never, ever, ever. And at the same time, it's like, poor souls are being abused.
Yeah.
By the military industrial complex.
I absolutely agree. It's
well, I mean, yeah, that's how it felt, you know, growing up in a military family. Like, the rest of the family, like, you can be as supportive as you like of, you know, like the father figure or whoever actually putting in the work and their service, and then when it comes to like kind of how the military actually treats the rest of the family, you're like, oh, we're basically gear in your eyes, you know, like. And
actually, no, you're an encumbrance in their eyes of the family, because if you didn't exist, he would still be doing it, right? Like,
quite right.
Yeah, we're all about the families. That's a lie, but
that shit is something else. But I mean, that's something that I'm, you know, I'm not a father yet, but I I want to start my own family with my lady, and it's something that I've been very conscious of. Um, is in this kind of era where it's like, obviously I'm very heavily into my guns and gear and prepping and all of that, and I want to raise my kids to be, prepared riflemen and all that. And it's like, it's to me very important to kind of separate, being a good, upstanding, prepared citizen from servitude to a government that would
Yeah.
just use you for their own ends and for enriching themselves without, a second thought about what it might cost you or your kids.
Dude, they're
And it's,
trading souls for fucking
Yeah.
fake money.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And it's the fake money that they create, and it's so disgusting, dude. Yeah, and exactly.
No,
I'm
no, no,
sorry
no.
to cut you off,
You're
BR, but
no,
that's
no, no.
my
You're bang on
mind
the money.
is in the exact same place as I'm preparing my sons to the exact same thing, tactically, proficiency in arms and an understanding of like this is necessary and this is what will keep your individual sovereignty.
Yeah.
And just educating them as much as I can on the ways of the world, and that, man, we do live in a wicked world with wicked leaders, and it's the same story over and over again. And we've been I'm going to sound like a crazy person. My wife is always trying to
Oh,
temper me down on
you're
this
with
stuff.
friends.
It's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in good company here, buddy.
and it's like she understands it. She
Yeah,
agrees. It's just that we've been false flagged into every war we've been in.
Yeah.
Like since, as far as I know, since World War I haven't even gone back further than that, but like we've been false flagged into every single freaking confrontation that our country's gone into, and every time it happens, there's an erosion of sovereignty and erosion of freedoms. And man, I didn't gain this perspective until obviously, like, you see things, right? And you're just like, well, they're just getting rich off of us, but that's just the way it is, right? Like, I'm a 20-year-old kid. I barely graduated high school. And then, like, I got my education in the teams, and then you just keep seeing the same, every theater you go to, it's just like, what, who are these companies just running everything? And who owns these companies running this contract for this base, for literally everything on this base is one company, right? Okay. That doesn't make sense to me. Again, like, why are we in this forever war? What are we doing? And then, like, the whole Afghan drawdown, I was like, it was terrible. It was just like, and they did that to humiliate us, I think, and to break us and to make us feel insignificant. And it was like, I wasn't even tied to the theaters anymore. I was just tied to the fact that my friends have died in those places, and they just, nobody gave a fuck. Sorry, I don't want to explain so much.
You're more than okay.
So like you said those things started clicking like pretty early on, right? Like kind of a young 20-something. Do you think that was happening kind of it was more obvious to you because of kind of the level of unit you were at, or do you feel like that was kind of the same experience, kind of military wide?
Again, I can't speak for every other person. I feel like in the teams you get a little bit more autonomy and a little bit more of a voice and free thinking, and they select for guys like that too, right? And so you get a bunch of us together. What's going to happen? We're all going to come up with a lot of stories and theories and understandings, right? Like, I mean, you have access to a lot of information, right? And you start to piece things together for yourself, even though nobody says those parts out loud. We were, and and I get out and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm contracting as a JTAC instructor over at Little Creek for those teams, and then started this company. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna train, these police, because then the police will help us here. And then I go to like my first training with this team that said they wanted help with hostage rescue stuff, right? I'm like, we have all these hostage rescue problems. I'm like, hell yeah, like, I know how to do that. I'm gonna help you guys because I want to help people here. Like, dude, I lived in America, but I didn't live here. I was so like all over the place. I didn't know how this place actually ran. And then you start to see, like, man, these guys aren't doing hostage rescues. They're freaking knocking down people's doors and stuff. And I was like, I don't know about this. And then I was just like, I can't,
Mm.
I'm not doing this anymore. And again, it's like, I feel like these are a lot of things that I say privately, right? I don't ever put the stuff out, but it's just like, I won't train police anymore. And I'm sure I have friends that are cops, like, and there's so many like cops that they join to help, right? And they want to serve their community. But in the end, it's like, what are they actually being used for, and who's telling them what to do? It says it in the name. It's law enforcement who writes the laws, not us, right?
Yeah.
So first priority, and again, like, that's an organizational thing, and there's a lot of good people that are police officers, and it's just I can't control who uses what I teach and how it's used, so I just choose not to do that.
Yeah, but I absolutely agree with that.
You know,
it's and like we saw over the last few years, just like the tip of the iceberg, just a really really small but jarring sort of preview for how police can be misused on the general populace. Like, anyone who thinks
yeah,
of the police as just a unit or on our side are just fucking wrong.
Yeah, and the thing that's really cool too, man, is like, I told you I've got these friends that are cops. I had some friends that were like federal cops. Dude, I've just been pressuring them like crazy. Just fucking stop. Just stop. And I just like recently had a buddy who's like, I'm done. I'm out. Had another buddy. I'm done. I'm out. I'm done. I'm out. I just had 3 dudes just hit me up. They're like, hey man, thank you. I was scared, because there is security in a job, right? There's security, and it's scared. It's scary if you got a family. But there comes a point where your personal convictions have to outweigh like the physical comfort of this world, and you can make anything happen if you're motivated enough, and if you have the correct motivations and intentions. So I feel like I've been helping some people realize that were feeling like they were stuck, and I'm so happy to hear that, you know, like, have buddies that were like, hey man, I can't do the things that you were talking to me about. I feel like they're real, and didn't want to be a fence sitter anymore, which is awesome.
That's how grassroots change starts, because it's, you know, one person at a time.
Yeah, and that's like my wife's thing too, is like, she's a trauma addiction and recovery coach.
Very cool.
Yeah, we want to have like a retreat space here on our property to help take care of a lot of, you know, mild community, because there's, like I said, there's so many mental aspects too. Like I said, it will wear you down physically, spiritually, mentally. Like, your soul gets tired. You don't know how to deal with things on top of like the physical traumas. Like, you've got physical broken connections in your brain from your brain getting rattled so much, right? And it's just like, how do we come back from that? Well, we have some solutions and answers to that, I believe. And even without medicine work, like, dude, my wife is an amazing coach, and I've been through psychologists and psychiatrists, and it was just like, this is bullshit, and this is not, you're telling me what's wrong with me. I'm never going to come to any realizations on my own, right? The way that she does things, man, it's just like, she's so good at listening, targeted questions, and it's like, you're coming to your own realizations and answers, and that's the most compelling way to make real changes in the way you feel, the way you have a relationship with yourself, the way you have a relationship with God, the way you have a relationship with other people, like, is self-realization, self-actualization. When you have people telling you what's wrong with you, us being humans and having perfectly formed egos don't want to hear it, right?
Yeah.
So it's really cool to, like I said, just I was basically a foot soldier of the system at the highest levels to where we are right now. Sorry, I get nervous saying these things out loud, because dude, like, we know they're no fucking secret, they're targeting all of us.
Yeah.
You know, and like, somebody like me that just wants to be left alone, they look at it as a threat, and I don't understand it, because I just want to live in peace. you
Yeah.
know, and it's like, again, rabbit holes, but like all of the PatCon stuff in the 90s that didn't work out for them, right? Like 9/11, that worked for them, you know, and they got the Patriot Act out of it, and they've got a lot of other things out of what they've got going on right now, and the division that they're driving in the country. Like, I don't think people are so far away as far as like the working class as the people go from each other, you know, but they just keep the division going. They're so scared of people like realizing how things actually are. But I feel like now social media, dude, it taps into the lowest vibrational energy that exists for people. Like, seeing a positive comment on social media is like, oh, you're a dick rider. Oh, you're gay. If you say nice things to people on the internet, it's like, what? Like, it's so, the language that people use now is so toxic, and this shit just being put into your face all day long, every day, dude, is just so gross.
Stare into your misery rectangle. Like, come on, just plug in, stay plugged in.
Yeah,
we can't have any positivity.
Dude,
we can't have any connection.
The telescreens are real, man. Like, this thing, like, fuck, man, they won, or they're winning. They haven't won, they're winning.
It's so addicting, and it's so easy, and you know, anyone, I don't even want to say just the lowest common denominator. There's teams of behavioral psychologists that work for all of these companies, that work for the government, that work for everything. It's all been weaponized down to like exactly how long you have to look at this screen to get this amount of dopamine to click the next thing, you know, like how to weaponize anger and how to make it addicting. All of this is so focus grouped and tested and weaponized against people, and it's easy. It's so easy. Like, what are the biggest things people are arguing about right now? Fucking, what's her name, Lizzo? Who cares? Who cares about any of this? Like, most of the arguments that people are getting up in arms about don't matter. None of it matters.
And it's, these people will never affect your life in reality, right? Like, you'll never come into contact with this person, yet they are inside of your head and like making you angry, and it's like so intentional. And once you realize that, it's just like, I don't care anymore.
No, that's the cure.
Yeah,
it's like pushing past it.
I understand the necessity of social media, and it is a tool, and it's awesome. Like, we're talking to each other, 100%. Right? Like, I've met so many amazing people, and like, dude, even like this past week or two, just amazing people coming out of the woodwork, and us having like great conversations, and people are like, hey, I've followed you for a long time, and you know, you just DM back and forth, and then it's like they say this one thing, and we get on the phone, and you're just talking, and you're like, dude, you're awesome. Like, yes, you get it, right? Like, and when we having the opportunity to like have organization without having true it's weird. It's a tool that can be used for good as well.
Absolutely.
Know? But it is inundated with such toxicity, and it's just in your face with all this.
And I think it's by design.
Fakers out there. Oh, 100%. 100%.
I mean,
that's the thing, is like, once you realize that, dude, your clothes are poison, your freaking water's poison, your food is poison, the freaking phone is poison, the homes that the materials that are being used to construct homes are poison. Like, once you start to realize it, you're like, wow, like, I don't have a problem with my neighbor. I have a problem with this whole thing that's happening around us. And this is driving this wedge between all of us. And they are scared of people realizing that's how it is, because
it's easier to focus on the micro things that you might be. It's escapism in its purest form. You know, the things you might have any impact over by getting mad on the internet versus the fact that this entire fucking everything is broken and being controlled. And like, I got a message the other day just from this guy, and by the other day I mean weeks ago, but it just bothered me because it was the perfect. And again, we're talking about, we shouldn't get mad about this kind of stuff because it doesn't matter. But it's someone was just, oh, you know, this person follows you and they're bad and they shouldn't have access to this information. It's like, dude, there are so much bigger things to be worried about. Your food is poison. The entire world is fucked, and you're choosing to get mad at about what some complete stranger on the internet, who they have on their follow list. I don't check. I don't care. None of this matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
We're literally getting goose stepped right into World
Yeah.
War III, and people don't give a shit.
It's the smallest problems
Yeah.
that aren't even problems that people try and focus on because it makes them feel like they've got a modicum of control over their life or the lives of people around them.
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a weird
Mhm.
tendency to realize that people want to be in control over other
Yeah.
people. It is weird. Like, what right do you have to come into my life and tell me how to live? What right do you have to take what's mine? Right? Like, you shouldn't have that right. But it is multi-generational organized crime, also known as the government.
Fortunately, we're in an era where there's like this big kind of decentralized counter propaganda movement happening. Like, and it's nothing like it's nothing aggressive or malicious. It's just people going like,
Dropping out.
actually, yeah, like
Yeah.
actually that's all
Yeah.
fake anyway. Like literally, so anyway is kind of the attitude of so many people emerging. I mean, that's the reason
Yes.
for this show's existence, and basically our online presence. Because if you're going to be staring into a misery rectangle, I mean, hopefully we can reach your ears every once in a while and say, hey,
Yeah.
maybe go and touch some grass. Hey, maybe think about what you're eating, and maybe think about getting off the couch and kind of getting a little bit of joy from being in the sunlight and moving your body and loving your family, building stable connections with your neighbors and your friends and your family and
Yeah.
your community. Like, go out and live this beautiful life. Don't focus on Lizzo or
Yeah,
whatever
none
the
of that
fuck is
stuff
going
matters.
on. Like,
Yeah.
nah.
It's
Yeah,
No,
what
like
were
go.
we talking about earlier?
that person
Yeah.
will never be in your life.
They
Yeah,
want
I hope
people
not.
angry and distracted. They want people to be upset at each other because I think the biggest threat is
Yeah.
community. It's people realizing that we don't actually have that much difference between each other.
And we don't need a middleman pointing a gun at all of
Yeah.
us to make us get along. Like,
It's
nah.
so gross. It's so gross. The population would police itself, honestly. And that is the thing, is like, people don't do anything because they've been trained not to, right? Everybody's a bystander at this point. You'll have individuals that recognize that there is a call to action when shit is going down, and you'll have those people that are like stepping in to do things as you see them going down. And I'm, just internet videos of people in cities. Thank God. Like, I mean, I never would have lived in a city in the first place, but like, our disconnection from everything is nice. And at the same time, it's kind of like what I said. They want us to get scared and get isolated too, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not totally the answer either. It's not, you don't go into your hole and disappear. That's exactly what they'd want for people like us to do, is just to go into a hole and disappear and not talk to anybody. I don't know. I just think about like the ridiculousness of, oh yeah, we got posse comitatus, but they completely subvert it and skirt it with federal law enforcement, dude. Literally every organization has federal armed police.
I was going to say USPS has
postal inspectors or whatever they are, dude. Like, there's just, I got that realization. I'm like, wait, what are you saying? Like, the armed IRS thing, that is wild to me. So posse comitatus doesn't matter because they've just completely skirted it.
Well, it's just like when they try and tell us like the intention of a well-armed and prepared militia is the National Guard, and you're like, whoa, don't psyop me into like giving away my independence. I know what that's about, and I know a rifle behind every blade of grass is a hell of a lot better than a permanent war state that serves to only make us more enemies rather than less. Like,
yeah,
insane.
Yeah, obviously I got to watch that happen over and over again.
Yeah.
It is pretty wild when you just followed, like, oh, we're gonna false flag this. We're gonna go send these people down here to disrupt this government and install democracy. And it's like, man, were those people even asking for that? Like, whose business is that, right? I don't know. I don't want to. Yeah, it is. It's like, you just think about it too much. It just becomes so negative. But then it's like, you need to have that understanding too, that that's how it is, so you can change your life.
Well, and that's the thing. It's the balance of like knowing the evil is out there and also not, doom scrolling and becoming nihilistic and focused on it, and that is all there is in the world because it's not.
Yeah,
There's a
don't
lot
black
more.
pill. Hey, if you're listening to this,
Yes.
don't black pill yourself.
Uh,
Like
Absolutely.
there's still a lot of good. There's still a lot of good. I mean, I wake up in
yeah.
gratitude every day. I have my family. We're happy. We're healthy. We have a beautiful home, and we're carving our
Yeah.
way.
And that's what it's about.
There's
That's
more good
beautiful. I
than
mean,
bad. They just try and
I
hide
don't
it.
think we've said it on the show yet.
Dude, they
Yeah.
want you to think there's only bad, and that you need
Yeah.
them to make it not bad, right? So just listen to that, please. Anybody.
Like if you can draw one message
I mean,
from this.
One message from it, yeah, is just understand that like the people, we should not be fighting with each other the way that we are, right? Like there shouldn't be this negative energy between the people here, and you should just come to the understanding that it's just a game. Like literally it's psyop on psyop on psyop on psyop, and it is. And it's not like psyop in the, that's even got a negative connotation now, right? When you say psyop, it's like, oh, fucking psyop, and it's like it starts to lose its meaning when you say the too much.
Yeah.
It starts to sound weird,
Yeah.
right? You hear psyop so much, people are just like, oh, you're just a
Yeah.
conspiracy
But
theorist. And like,
even that, like you go down the rabbit
no,
hole,
man.
and the term conspiracy theorist was pushed to have negative connotation. That's by design as well.
Right. And it's just like when you look at a word and you understand what it actually means versus what they try to put a connotation to, right? Like actually, BR, I'm going to, like, dude, you opened me up to what like anarchy actually is versus the negative connotation around
that's
it.
awesome.
Like following your page helped me understand, and it like got me into like the understanding of like, we don't really need the government, to do all of these things, right? Like people will figure this stuff out on their own, just like they did before, right?
Yeah.
And community forms through natural bonds that people have for each other. Like we have affinity for each other as humans, right? Like not everybody is an enemy, and we do need community and we do need organization, and like bad actors will always be found out and the people will be able to police themselves. But like I said, we've been trained to wait, to be bystanders, to be spectators in life and wait for somebody else to come fix the problem. And that's the beautiful thing about living in rural communities is like, dude, people don't wait for shit.
Yeah.
Like I literally, and by the way, BR, you'll like this. We don't have fire and EMS here because we're in an unincorporated area. So guess what I pay for my fire and EMS for the year? $170. Yep. So you can opt into your service. I didn't need to. I could have chose to not have them, right?
Oh damn. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So you can opt into
is it
services.
volunteer or like what?
No, it's a third party
Okay.
private fire and EMS service that is in the area, right? Same thing with like our trash collection. That is a third party private organization. I pay like my $28 a month to have my trash service, right? It's not coming out of my taxes. What else? Like the free market worked itself out. The people work themselves out.
Yeah, because I mean, those are things people want, and guess what? If they want it to happen, they make it happen, and if they don't, out there where it's not being forced on you, it doesn't happen. If someone needs a road, guess who's gonna build it? The people that need the road.
Exactly.
Crazy concept.
There's something about and sorry for like throwing in my own personal anecdotes. Moving to rural Idaho, it's not quite as like it's bordering that. It's not quite as good as that, at least where I am. But everything's volunteer. Everything is opt-in. You want to do something, you just do it yourself, and there's a huge push for that. Driving through small town Idaho, I see that. It's the fire departments run mostly or entirely by volunteers. Same with like a local EMS service, things like that. It's nice. It's not what I'm used to, but it's nice.
Yeah, and the necessity for arms where I live is high, right? Like we've got cougars, we got bears would like live on my property. I've got animals. We keep getting more, and we're gonna have more livestock. Plus, if anything were to happen out here, police response, minimum
Yeah.
45 minutes, right? A lot happens in 45 minutes, man. We would hit targets and be done before 45 minutes was up.
Sure as hell.
So it's like they want you completely dependent from birth to death on that system. And I love living in a place like this because the state of Oregon is awful, but our location, like there's 36 counties, 30 of the counties don't agree with the 6 counties that run the state.
Yeah.
Right? So 6 counties decide the fate of this whole state. But dude, like, I don't know if you guys have heard of the state of Jefferson.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a real thing here. Like here, going over the border in Northern California, and with the understanding that the system will never allow that legally to occur, but it's more of, instead of it just being like borders, it's more of like a state of mind of people around here, which is more powerful. Like I when it's in your heart, it's more powerful than if it's written on a piece of paper anyways.
I mean, yeah, can't kill an idea. You can't outvote an idea. Like if it's there, if it's popular, if the people want it, it's regardless of what you know, like county-wise want to do about it. The people, I'm sure, consider themselves the state of Jefferson.
That's the importance of people having it in their hearts and in their minds.
And I think that that's the importance as well of having a community of people you can rely on.
Yeah. And that's the thing that they're so scared of is, and it's so weird too. It's like, dude, we just want peace. We want to be left alone. And you're scared of people like congregating. It's so weird to me. Well, I mean, it's not weird when you understand their motivations and that it's easier to control people when they're divided, but it's like you get so brainwashed into thinking that you have a free country and all this stuff. Make sure there's nothing sneaking up on me. I heard some cracking.
You're a little pixely, so I'm trying. I'll do my best to look out for you, but there could be like a black bear behind you, and
It's
it'd be like 3 pixels.
I think I see a helicopter just back there. It looks like there's some dudes fast roping from it.
No, so it is weird to have any air traffic around here. So when I do hear helos, like I feel, dude, it is, my life has come so full circle. Like I am literally the target. Like I have that like rural compound, freaking animals. I'm a goat farmer now. You know, it's like,
oh, he just wants to live peacefully. We'll see about that.
Yeah, but it's just like, I feel like if the more people just kind of opt out of it, the weaker it gets.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a hell of an empowering thing seeing, like, over the last few years, as people have kind of seen how cities are kind of, you know, they're essentially walled kingdoms. Like they are a mecca of control, and like the modern American metropolis is so aggressively un-American compared to, you know, the rural community figuring out and creating their own space and kind of forging their own destiny, as opposed to being within those kingdom walls. And it's like, yep, this is how things are. You're very well controlled tax cattle, and if you're good, we'll give you all of the amenities you could ever want, and we'll keep you fat and happy. And that, it's like that has become what people think of as American, this idea of surplus and excess and comfort and luxury. It's like,
consumerism.
Yeah, and it's like, that's not us. Like,
went from man, it was like, I wrote this down the other day. I read it in this book, but it was like, the more like your family government grows, the less the civil government has control, right? So we've ceded so much of what belongs in families to government, to include like security, raising your children. Your children are being raised inside of these school systems, right? Mothers leaving the home to go to work in the workplace, and because of the necessity of having to have 2 incomes just to frickin' make ends meet for most people.
Yeah.
It's sad, and you just see the degradation of nuclear families, which was what made our country super strong in the first place, was a bunch of independent rural farmers that, I don't know, man, overthrew the biggest freaking military in the world. And then it just, that whole movement got hijacked in the end, but we, you know, House of Lords, House of Commons, right?
Yep.
And a king. We replicated that over here. We just gave it different names.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
that strength, like the second it was something that could be, there was a centralized power strong enough to start looting from it. I mean, it goes back to the Whiskey Rebellion. The second there was that centralized power, it was like, okay, well, you guys are kind of doing pretty good out here with that whiskey all of you you revolutionary veterans are making.
Yeah.
We'd like a cut of that. Actually, we got some debts. We've made some nice things, so it's time you paid up for that. And the second we had that little creep into, oh well, I'm a king
Yeah.
by a different name, and just that's compounded for about 250 years now of, well, we do a lot for you, we'd like a little bit more, and hey, we made you a little bit more comfortable than your parents were,
Give us 40% of your income.
and now we're here.
Dude,
Yeah, we have no idea.
the colonial government was actually pretty decent. It was just committees, right? Like in
Yeah.
true representation, and to be like, oh, it was mob rule. No, well, like I guess you could put those two words together to give it a negative connotation of people coming together and deciding things, and it was just, I don't know. I've been reading more and more about the formation of the nation and seeing how it went wrong, and it just literally got hijacked in the middle of the revolution.
Yeah. It's crazy because, like, you think, oh well, it happened in like probably the 1900s or maybe the 1950s, or maybe even later than that, and you look back at it and you're like, nah, it was honestly like a lot of peasants from all across the world came here to be away from kings and to be away from, to have freedom, whether it was religious or otherwise, to have a chance at a better life, and then a bunch of posh pricks also came with them and were like,
The
actually,
aristocracy.
yep, we're in charge of you guys. We're smarter. We're well read. We'll lead you to freedom. We'll show you some salvation.
Yeah.
Figured out how to be kings for themselves.
Yeah, the House of Representatives, right? And then senators, because you need aristocrats to make sure the people don't get too out of control.
Yeah. Now they're drowning in all this freedom we
It's
just
weird
gave
to
you.
see politics, and I think
Yeah.
it's always been like this, but seeing it devolve into essentially reality television over the course of my life. Like it's always been entertainment, but now they're not even trying to hide it.
Not even at all. Like, I mean, it's just so blatant in your face, but it's just like, I think they do it on purpose to show you that you can't do anything about it, or to try to make you feel like you can't do anything about it, right?
It's demoralizing. And,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day,
Yes, and that's
Well,
the goal.
it's meant to be.
serves a dual purpose.
Yeah, dude, it's so wild. The double standards, or no standards, actually.
Well, we could go down a rabbit hole of politicians,
They're
this
lizard
and that,
people.
but that's.
I mean, it's all of them, man.
Yeah.
It's all of them.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even have to get into specifics. They're all bloody lizard
Yeah.
people. We know that much.
Yep.
But I mean, we can get into some white pill. I mean, like you're living the good life. You're homeschooling your kids, and you're getting set up to start looking after your community and all
Yeah.
of that. Like, what's the?
Yep.
You said you've got some. Have you got animals yet, or?
Yeah, so I mean, we were raising chickens and stuff in Virginia already, so that was easy for us to do that here. And we got some goats. We got the goats literally for a natural way to, because we're not going to use any pesticides or anything and ruin our land. Plus, we have water features here too, and never put that in a creek. So the goats literally just blackberry and poison oak abatement. They're awesome. And then we're converting the old grow to a pasture. I'm gonna get some cows up there and some pigs, and round things out that way.
Hell yeah, gonna have like a proper little like mini ranch kind of setup.
Yeah, like I said, move the economy to the home as opposed to out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is this kind of are you like really settling into this place to be kind of like the spot from here on out, or you got plans to move in the future, or is this?
No, we're holding it down, man. Like awesome. I said, intentional is where we picked, and people are like, well, why would you go to? I'm like, man, you don't understand until you get out here. I get it. Like, yes, the state is awful as far as any state would be. But the people that live here are definitely not a representation of the way that this place is governed as a state. The people
that's
that
a lot
here,
of what I've heard is like Oregon has like a very like misleading yeah, people think of Oregon, they think of Portland, they think of like very much kind of like, oh well, it's basically it's a hellscape, it's all going down the hole. But rural Oregon sounds like
Yeah.
very switched on.
Bro, it is exactly the type of place that any of us would want to live.
Mm.
I think people that are independent and free thinking, and like land is not crazy expensive here either. You can get good chunks of it. You can get good chunks of off-grid land pretty darn cheap. So
It's like
if you're not worried about if you're not worried about power or anything like that, you can get some decent sized land here.
Oh, well, that's all of our listenership suddenly going like Oregon.
Yeah, like for real, like the more people we get here, like I said, the more people we get into places like this, the better it is for the places like this, right?
Yeah.
I know that there is like this whole movement in New Hampshire, right? They try to get as many people as they can there to kind of buck that whole system. Like I would say, like anybody listening, check places like this out. Like look for places that have BLM land, for one. I think that's always a good indicator of some freedom and of movement. And I get it. It's a federal organization that runs all of that. But when you're talking of thousands of acres, there's only like one BLM office in one area. Like people leave you alone for the most part. And like I said, community is huge. Don't isolate. Obviously, get you a good piece of land that's defensible, but don't isolate yourself from your community. The more people we can get to places like this, the stronger it'll be.
Yeah,
I mean that's the best defense out there.
I do think that there's truth in what people are saying about when people are individuals, they're a lot easier to take down and made to look like they're crazy Ted Kaczynski types.
Yeah, it's easy to control a narrative if you're not having any interaction and the only thing that's coming out is whatever narrative they're pushing.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite a different story if it's like, oh yeah, my neighbor, I've never talked to him. He's been there for 2 years. I just hear gunshots from his property. He flies some strange flags. I don't know, like, I kind of get why there's 50 cop cars and a helicopter circling his property all of a sudden compared to like, why are you bothering like Slade? I mean, leave that dude alone. He's cool. His family are cool. We've been talking to them for years. We look after each other. What the hell are you doing over there?
There is power in community. There really is.
Yeah, and again, like, don't misconstrue my words. Government, feds, anybody. It was a motivating factor for us coming out here because of that sense of community and independence.
Yeah.
At least for me, like having that understanding, and like I said, dude, the climate here is great. The land is great. The people are great. You literally have 6 counties of 36 governing the state improperly. So, like I said, there's it's technically like 50-50 because the populated areas are those 6 counties. But like the more people that we get to come to places like this, the stronger we'll be.
Fortunately, that seems to be kind of the trend in this community because I think a lot of people were really lost on what a solution was after kind of getting just and I don't want to speak for or like put how I feel on everyone else, but the more people I talk to, the more this seemed to be kind of common is like just fatigue from elections because so many people just riled up year after year, and the elections have gone more and more crazy every 4 years. It's like, oh, this is the most important one. This is the most important one. It's like, have you not realized that there is no stability in like freaking out about wrestling over the buttered up gun in the room like every 4 years and be like, hey, our side needs to have it or everything is fucked forever. They're gonna ruin everything. They're against us. Our absolute enemies are gonna be in the White House, and then it's over. And that's true if you're pushing the blue button or the red button or the yellow button or whatever the hell else is out there. Like, if you are fighting over that buttered up gun, you are every 4 years in a state of panic compared to having like setting out with that community, that that generational wealth, that kind of having a place to call home rather than a studio apartment or a little townhouse to rent, and then like no real foothold in the world, no actual place to call home. Like, I think people have really started to clock into, oh, I do need stability. I do need like some form of consistency. If the world is going to keep on trying to be more and more gonzo, as if the writers' room is just going to be like, okay, season 22, we gotta really up how crazy shit is to get people's attention this time.
I
Nah,
mean, that's basically where we're at right now, though, right? Like,
100%. Yeah.
it's all theater. They're all serving the same thing. I mean, what Carrie and Bush, Skull and Bones. Like, you pick one,
Yep. Yep.
it's the same. It's like it. In the end, it doesn't even matter. And it's like the crazy thing is those folks that are like jumping on the RFK thing. I'm like, bro, just listen to everything he says, not the things you want to hear, right? Just listen to everything these people are saying, and you realize it's like they're saying things that some people want to hear, that it's refreshing, and at the same time they're saying the
weaponized
same
populism.
Yeah.
It's why we don't talk to politicians on this show. It's like I don't care how interesting or how different or how much of a rebel or an outsider or whatever you are.
Yeah,
You're still a
I
politician.
almost gave him a break.
Like, it's all the same
Almost.
manipulations.
I will admit, it's like, okay, your family got killed by the CIA, basically everyone. Okay, like maybe,
And you're running on a platform talking about that.
And then
That's
I looked
interesting.
into a little
Sure.
bit of what he was saying.
But he's anti-gun.
Yeah,
he's anti-gun. Like, you can't say you're pro-freedom except for this one,
Yeah, like, I think only the people who assassinated my family should be armed. What?
Yeah, right.
Great idea. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of messing with language too. Like, people keep talking about liberty without realizing, like, in the military, it's called liberty when they give you a little break, right? It's not called freedom. You don't get freedom. Like, when you go on, it's like 72-hour liberty. It's like, well, that's time off with constraint.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
we're fighting for freedom. We don't have freedom yet. Like, let's calm down, guys.
Yeah.
But
yeah, freedom would be total autonomy, separate from somebody overlording over you, right? Like, that's freedom.
God, I like this episode. I like this episode a lot. I know I'm being meta right now. Whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, man.
It's the real stuff, man.
It is nice and refreshing, man. Like, I have a true inner peace living the way that we're living now. And like I said, I feel like the lifestyle change, the community that we have, the home that we have, the property we have, the food that we eat, like, it all matters to the point where, like, dude, we clean our house with apple cider vinegar and like organic orange and lemon peels that I've been soaking. Like, we can't use any chemicals, anything. Like, we make all of our stuff. I buy suet from the
we do too.
buy suet from my cattle dude in town right now, so we can render our own tallow. Like, we're trying to just bring everything back into the house, right? Like, the economy started in the home before this whole consumerism. Like, the industrial revolution kind of just took fathers out of the home, and then have now replaced fathers, and now they're taking mothers out of the home, or replacing.
It was truly
mothers.
Disastrous for the human race.
And we just, we're just watching everywhere we're looking, right? Like, people don't even know who they are anymore, and not even to the point where, like, oh, I don't know if I want to be this or that. Like, literally, people have no idea what they are anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, if that it hasn't been engineered, like, then I don't know what else to tell you if you don't believe that, No,
100%. Like you said, the consumerist society is now like, oh, I have a problem. Well, if I pay $19.99, I can probably solve that problem and have that solution here in, one day, because I have a Prime membership. Like, dude, how about you combine a few basic natural ingredients that you could grow yourself and have the same solution? Like, we started getting we moved out to Appalachia, and we started getting like a hell of a lot more bugs than in Arizona where we were before, and started getting ants in the house. We're like, oh my god, how the hell are we gonna solve this? And there was a brief second where we were looking at like insecticides and all this, and we were like, we don't want to do that. We hate all that shit, and looked up
Clove oil.
Yep. Stuff
Clove
like
oil.
that. Just like
Yeah,
a
cinnamon,
simple
clove oil.
spray. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, done, sorted. Like, fixed it like that. And it's like, oh, thank God. Like, and
Yeah, how do we
make
do
it- make
anything
our-
before chemicals? How do we do anything before somebody had the solution for me in a bottle?
Yeah, before I had to like napalm my entire environment with stuff that the human body should like have never ever came into contact with.
Right.
Like, it's
Yeah.
it really is like a whole kind of reprogramming you have to go through when you start having that awful realization that like, oh, it's all poison, and people are profiting off of an indifference to my health and an indifference to like how healthy society is in general. Like, oh, we don't really care if people die from consuming that at in their 60s and 70s from cancer or God knows what else, because they enjoyed it when it was a cheap, easy solution they could chuck in their cart and not even think about. But nah, we don't want any of that. We want to look after ourselves. We want to unplug from that absolute disaster of a way of living, and just being indifferent to like, this might take a few years off my life, but it's convenient. Like, what?
Yeah,
It tastes
What?
good. Come on.
Yeah,
it's $4
yeah.
for 12.
It's easy. Oh, it's done. Hey, I can microwave it in 60 seconds, and then I have more time for my Netflix shows. Oh my god.
Yeah, we don't have a microwave.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we don't have a microwave. We should can that
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yes, it is a harder way to do things, even though it's simpler, because of the way everything is now. Like, they've literally made it so difficult to be simple, to live simply. They've made it hard to have this type of lifestyle. Like, dude, they're trying to make it so difficult for people to have any autonomy or independence or own land or not participate in the system. It's weird, right? It's like you almost have to have money to be able to drop out of it, right? And thank God we had equity in our home and sold it when we did to be able to do what we're doing. Otherwise, like, dude, and it was like, man, it was the weekend as everything crashed. We had sold our house exactly for what we were asking for it. And then when we put the offer in this, it was like perfect timing to where we could ask 160 grand less. And they said yes. And it was like, thank you. That was like, the timing of everything was, I mean, I might sound like a weirdo, but man, like, God lined that up perfectly for us and got us to where we needed to be, and I'm going to be eternally grateful for that. And I won't let it go in vain. Like, we're going to work hard to have that lifestyle that's more in line with nature and more in line with the way that humans should be living. It's just, I see the difference in my children. I feel the physical difference in my mind, body, soul, spirit, everything. My relationship with my wife and kids is so, it's like, if you would have told me 5 years ago this is what I would be doing, I would have been like, bro, you're fucking crazy.
Like, wait, I'm some kind of hippie?
Yeah, well, I always kind of knew I was like that a little bit, but like, not as hardcore.
Yeah.
We're pretty hardline on our lifestyle, and we have to be, and people should be, and you need to be, because, like I said, the convenience of the opposite of this is death, like a slow death, painful death, a non-enjoyable life. I feel like when you're just plugged into it, like I said, you're feeding this and you're feeding this, and you're just literally, it's all poison. And it was like that realization right there, boom, and it just opened everything up for us. Was like, what else is? Oh my God! Oh, that system is. Oh, that one too. Ooh, nope, not that. Ooh, even clothes. Oh God. Right? It's like, it's like, or if you're gonna wear underwear, it's organic cotton underwear now. It's like freaking merino wool this. Like we have to like hardline things. And obviously like there's some things that you can't get away from, like technical materials are going to be technical materials, if you're going to use that kind of stuff for anything. But it's like we are doing our best to have that independence from that system that is meant to poison you. It's difficult at first, but once you, just like anything, right? Like once you understand and you get into your routine and you have all of your stuff in place now, it becomes so much easier. I don't know, like quitting drinking, that was one of the hardest things I ever did. But now just the thought of booze or anything, it was just like, ew, I can't believe I ever put that in my body. Right.
Mm.
Right. Like, even like, was it Advil or anything like that, man? I can't tell you the last time I freaking took an NSAID because I haven't had to.
Yeah.
You know, it's refreshing to know that there's other people out there. And that's a cool thing about here is like, there's so many people like us out here that it makes it easier too. And that's the importance of like, if this is the lifestyle you want, you've got to find a place that will support it too. Right.
Yeah, where it's just the natural state of being rather than like, those guys are kind of weird. Like, come on, just plug in, dude. It's so much easier.
There's like literally a farmer's market every Saturday here, year round. It never stops. And then like the next little community over, there's one on Friday nights, you know? So like you can get all of the things you need from people that are doing it in the community. And like to include beef, pork, vegetables, all of those things. Like there's so many rad people around here just doing it, you know? And like it's just inspiring to us to make us keep going and understand that like we're not doing it by ourselves. Before we even showed up here, like all the homies from Noveski, even people that I hadn't even met, like were prepping our house for us. Like,
wow.
Yeah, like some bullshit. The EPA, we had a wood stove in the home, but for the house to close, they had to remove it and get a certificate of destruction. So like 6 of my friends, who are all my friends now, but I only knew like 3 of the people really at the time, were at my house before we ever moved out here, schlepping this thing out, taking it into town to get the certificate of destruction so we can get this home. Like my friend Zach comes over with his freaking, like I told you, with his Bobcat and excavator, and he's been grading our land and helping me install the fence. He's like, yeah, man, I grew up on a ranch in Colorado. This is what I did. And like, dude, it's so awesome. Like we didn't have any of that where we were before. And like, I know that if I could just text somebody or call somebody, that they would drive the 35 minutes out to my house and be here in a heartbeat with whatever they needed. And like, how many people you want me to bring, kind of thing. And that is so important, right? Like, don't go isolate, find a community and get tight.
You can't buy relationships like that. It's so hard to find stuff like that in a city.
You can't. Oh, they depraved hearts everywhere in the city, man. Like man's grown so cold towards each other, and that is like a disconnection from nature, and that is that's the result, right? Like you're disconnected from nature, you're disconnected from like the ground you're walking on is artificial, the space you're in is artificial, the things you consume are artificial, like your whole everything is artificial. So yeah, your soul and your spirit starts to die too. So I feel like people in these communities living life for real, dude, it's just a straight love, man. It's really rad. And it's like refreshing in this world that is, like I said, there's so much depravity and so much wickedness, and there's also so much good. You just got to be able to find it. I feel like there's more people waking up, like not this false awakening thing that people are going through, but like more people actually waking up and realizing like, hey, we can make this place better. We can do better for each other and ourselves. And it's inspiring. I'm constantly motivated every single day I wake up, and I'm, like I said, I'm giving gratitude to God every day that I have my family and our health and our home, and like we're just going to continue growing it here. And you know, all these talking heads out there talking about, oh, you got to be ready to do violence. Sorry, if you guys, I know one of you guys is Canadian, so Jordan Peterson, right? That guy out there, like, he does say some stuff, but again, like, people need to stop depending on talking heads for everything, and like, man's not going to come save you. It's like your friends and family. It's your community. It's not somebody out there. It's people that you actually have relationships with, and that's the importance. But like I said, having firearms is mega important out here for multiple reasons. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like my life has done a 180 for the better, and out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
We could have just stayed in it and done the easy thing, but now this is the easy thing. Once we decided to make those choices and those changes, it is the easy thing. We also don't go out to eat in restaurants. Like, it's very few places, and like, I'm the asshole telling the people, you can't cook my food in this, you got to cook it in this kind of stuff. If we do go out, but it's that's important too. Is like, you have to advocate for yourself, right? Like, so many people, I feel like, are scared to advocate for themselves and their families too. So like, yeah, if you don't do it, nobody else is going to.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So like, kind of coming out of, you know, the military and doing a lot of cool guy stuff and coming into this more natural way of being, and then obviously continuing to be in the gun space with Irregular Defense, has there kind of been like a kind of a reconfiguration of how you think about kind of defense and use of arms and all that kind of thing, like a philosophical kind of standpoint? Is it like, has that kind of has that been a thing for you at all, kind of, especially raising young boys into young men to appreciate freedom, and but also like true freedom, as well as being a rifleman? Has there been kind of a framing that you give them to kind of guide them along that path?
Yeah, I teach them the necessity of arms is the last line of defense that we have, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing that's keeping, and I talk about this constantly, the only thing that's keeping our population, the population of America, from being steamrolled right now is the fact that we've got so much steel in circulation, and that causes hesitancy on the stormtroopers from kicking down your door. I guarantee it. That's the only thing keeping us from completely getting steamrolled and put into frickin', it sound like a crazy person, but put into these little boxes in cities and easier to control, or like, that is the only thing.
You say it makes it sound
point.
crazy,
And
but we've seen it happen multiple times over the course of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, just that video of the stormtroopers, I mean, police force rolling down the street with, I think they had, you know, I'm sure they had guns on them too, but they had like those pepper ball guns, and like a bunch of people are standing out on their porch just watching, like, why the hell are they
Minnesota.
in formation?
Yeah, that was in Minnesota, right? Yeah, I posted actually, 2020. I put that in my freaking story. I was like, what? This is not. No.
Yeah, that I mean, obviously there was so many videos like that, people being dragged out of churches and all sorts of crazy stuff happening at the hands of people who would never do such a thing. But I mean, can you imagine if this country was, you know, like Britain, for example, or Australia? I mean, we saw what happened to Australia. Like, if this was a country where there wasn't consequence for kicking indoors and going like full scale empire, my God. And they pushed hard with the amount of guns and all that out here, and capability behind doors. But you're absolutely right. Like, it's so many people try and paint, you know, this culture, this gun culture, as this violent, like, ready to fight, like, bloodthirsty movement. And it's like, absolutely not. Like, internment camps have existed in this country, and they've existed all over the world, and they were flirting with the idea of quarantine camps in this country, and they accomplished those in other countries, in Western countries. It's not a crazy thing that you could be put in a camp for X, Y, or Z reason by blue government, red government, whatever else that happens to be in power. Like, it's a thing that could happen.
Yeah. Yes. You're absolutely correct. Just look at what China's basically the test run for everything, right? Because the people are so freaking subjugated and they have to comply with everything. I think that's the test bed for all of these policies coming down the pipe, right? And the only thing, like I said, that's separating us from that is all the steel in circulation.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with that on the enforcement side. But why are they pushing so hard to take them?
Yeah.
So they can. Right?
So
Like,
that's the big thing.
fucking
You know,
wake
if
up,
they're
please.
like the amount of effort and lying and call me crazy, false flags and everything else that is going into the mass disarmament of the American people. Why do that unless your purposes are nefarious?
Yeah,
Right.
like that's not your friend. That's not your concerned
Yeah.
friend looking out for you. Like we've seen what you guys do when you're not our friend, when you want to push the boot a little bit more down on our throat. It's very apparent what you're ready to do. And the
Yeah, I
answer
mean,
is absolutely not.
even in like free states, right? Like they still did lockdowns. They still did
Yeah.
lockdowns. So it's I don't want people to memory hole the last 3 years either.
No.
People need to understand, like, they're going to keep filling your face with different types of information. So you don't even think about not even last year, but last week, right? Like the cycle moves so fast, people aren't even remembering things that have happened in their own lives. And
Yeah, it's like no, that was 3 things ago. That's I frequently say that at work. We'll be talking like, oh, did you see this? No, that's not important, dude. That was 3 things ago. What was the last thing? Oh, I don't remember. Hey, aliens. Oh wait, no, that was 2 things ago. Never mind. What are we talking about now?
I find that so funny. It's like, look at all the declassified documents of horrible things that the American government, the FBI, the CIA, whatnot. We've brought up the Finders Papers and all that on here.
Oh my god, the Gulf of Tonkin.
Like, look at all the things that they did in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and then I guess they just stopped.
That was so long ago.
I guess they stopped. No, they're fine. They're on our side now,
The one thing that they didn't count on, though, was the internet being used against them, right? Yeah, so stand by for Internet 2.0, by the way. They'll shut this thing down so hard.
Oh, yeah, they're already trying.
It's getting
just
sterilized.
The legislation being pushed in Europe and other countries like Canada, it's wild.
Yeah, I mean, and just look at the collusion of industry and government here, right? Control narratives, shut people down, the censorship, like things. Literally every time I go to comment on something now, it pops up, "Hey, SlayderRaider, welcome to the conversation. Please be respectful." I'm like, is that just me, or is that happening to people like me? Is that everyone that's getting this message? But like literally every time I go to comment now, that thing pops up, and it'll be like, "Are you sure you want to leave this comment?" And it's like there's a little time. Have you ever seen that? Does that happen to you guys?
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to leave this comment? And it'll like tick you down, and like make you feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. Like, fuck you. Whatever.
Yeah. It's like trying to train you to be like, oh, that was wrong thing. Whoops. Let me just delete that. I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. It's like, wait, I wasn't even talking negatively about someone except for, Uncle Sam and his nefarious plans, but apparently I'm hurting someone's feelings.
A couple times
mind.
talking
I guess
about
I'll just
like the political process.
Yeah.
Well, what they're calling that now is election interference. Like you're trying to dissuade people from participating, which is anti-democracy.
That's one of the major bannable offenses. We got banned for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't even anything particularly bad.
Yep.
God forbid I give my actual opinion, but
yeah, man. Like obviously, a lot of this conversation is tempered, but yeah, as far as like. Some of the stuff that we're talking about, there's some temperament there that we're keeping down, but it's like, I think people just really want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And there's the people that don't want to be left alone. I think those people should just go do what they want to do and live in those cities, but they should just really leave us alone.
I agree.
Yeah. Stop stealing from me. Why do I have to fund your lifestyle or your choices?
It's such a I can't put the two things together where it's like obviously so many people have like such different ways they want to live their life, and whatever, that's humans, that's people being people, but it's like, how do so many people not get that they're being weaponized against other people that just want to live their lives? Like, no, it doesn't matter what your walk of life is, on some level you just want to do your thing how you want to do it, and obviously, if you're infringing on someone else, you know, go and
Yeah.
fuck yourself. But apart from that, there's so many groups of people who are just doing that thing and fighting their damnedest to grab hold of this buttered up gun to be like, okay, let me do it. You know, it's like, why are we all doing this to each other? Like, all of our things can just happen on their own. Like, but we've been, again, I don't want to overuse the word like you were saying, psyop, but we've been trained to think that we have to be in this combative
Yeah.
situation. And so now, obviously, this really powerful culture of ours where we have, I, Spotify probably won't like this, but we have the means to be left alone
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
wanted to be. Like, you would know if we were a problem, and it's very apparent that we're actually really
Yeah.
fucking peaceful. Like crazy peaceful for how armed and capable we are.
But I
as
think,
Yeah,
like,
and-
look how many
and-
people listen to
like-
this, and like that is a threat in its own. And then we're not even particularly like influential past this community. At least I don't know. Don't want to give us credit where we're not due. But that is every single one of those people. Like, if 1 out of 100 of them takes away, like, well, why am I part of the system? Like, why do I believe the things that I believe? Maybe, you know, I should look into intentional communities. Maybe I should look into separating myself from the system. Maybe you know, the concept of tax is bullshit. Just anything. Every single one of these things, like, as silly as it seems, it is a threat to the system, and they know that. So
Yeah, the people that
So-
they have convinced that this green thing is a real thing. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna have you look around real quick. We got animals and we burn wood here, but it looks pretty green here, I would say.
oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
That's the real stuff.
I don't need an electric car,
yeah,
right? Like, I don't think people understand either, unless you're like on nuclear or hydro. Like, when you flip on a light switch, you're burning fuel. You're
Yeah.
burning coal, you're burning wood, you're burning petroleum. I don't think people understand that.
yeah.
So it's like it's people just being programmed into, like, oh, because I feel like people want to do good, and I feel like people want, like, and I mean, like, the majority of people wanted, obviously, bad actors everywhere, right? In every single group, you're going to have just bad actors, but that they're not the majority. The majority of people want to do good, and they're being convinced that these measures and these steps are things that are good, when it's quite the opposite, right? Like, if you drive around this country and you see a freaking windmill farm or a solar farm somewhere, you're like, oh my God, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how is this good for anyone or anything? And it's like,
Yeah, the amount
the
of
amount
space
of
they
power, the amount of space they take, the amount of power that is output through those systems is garbage comparatively to what I believe is a replenishable resource, which is fossil fuels. All right, Rockefeller. But I think, like, the Earth makes that stuff, right? Like, it's I don't know. I think that's a whole another psyop in and of itself. Is like, you burn this stuff, it's so bad. No, it actually it's improved the quality of life of everyone around. They improved their quality of life. We don't want to do that anymore, right? So, but then people are willingly following down that line as the consumer, and giving it more and more power, when you couldn't be further from nature going down that route, right? Like, of all these alternative sources of energy, unless we were like pulling energy out of the ether, right? Like a Nikolai Tesla kind of person that can have infinite energy, or if we had small nuclear reactors that would power our homes, even in that, like, that would be cleaner than any of the stuff that they're trying to push now.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen what Germany's doing to itself? Like, the massive excavators just carving that country up. It's like they're destroying like whole villages and stuff just to harvest coal because they gave up on nuclear. It's like, guys, how are we regressing so aggressively and destroying the landscape? And they're doing this because they got so confused about what it means to be green. Like, they're taking such aggressive steps back because they shot themselves in the foot and they're trying to save face, and now they're destroying their country just to keep the lights on.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
that's
wow.
destroying livelihoods and like, I don't know, the Netherlands, right? You're watching the Netherlands and Ireland where they're just wholesale slaughtering farmers' cattle.
I saw that to keep emissions down, which is insane. Didn't the Farmers Party just win in the not that, I again have any trust in the political process, especially in Europe, but it seems like the things might be coming around there.
I mean, I hope so.
People are at least
Yeah, I
awake
mean,
to
you
it.
saw the
Yeah,
farmers
like
in their tractors and protesting, and
Yeah.
but again, it's like now they can freeze your bank account. Now they can do this. Now they can stormtroop your land and cull your cattle, right?
Yeah.
Like
That did
it's
happen in
still,
Canada.
yeah, and they're
oh, culling of cattle as well.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of the problems that uh, these farmers are going up against is like for them to be able to produce and stay competitive, they've had to go into like that commercial style of farming. So it is, yeah, like if you really look at it, it is not very green, right? If you're just throwing a bunch of nitrates on the soil and growing grass and then having like cattle in stalls eating corn syrup and slop, right? Like that isn't green, and I get that.
Yeah.
But it's and again, like the system made that happen that way, right? So there's the regenerative farming is
Yeah.
not
Well,
is not a mainstream thing. So I don't know, man. Like the answers are out there. It's just that they've made it so difficult for people to be able to come to those solutions. It sucks, man, in that regard. But again, like that's why you just kind of have to do it on your own.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because I've been talking to a few friends in Britain about this, and kind of because I've been away for so long now, and I've been seeing like Europe itself kind of topple at a much more aggressive rate than the US because they don't have the ability to say no, and there's not that kind of looming danger of pushing the boot too hard on the neck. Like they can just push until it snaps, and it's it is what it
Yeah.
is to them. But like more and more people back home are like, yeah, dude, like I moved to the city, like same time you moved to the States, and now I wanna move rural, and I want a little plot of land. I want to be able to look after myself because I mean I think in Britain it's something like 40% of the population at this point is like starting to put regular bills on credit cards, and like it's just not sustainable. Like, and it's because like with the farming situation, it's not that there's a spread of little homesteads and like very sustainable farming. It's very few massive corporatized farming and all of this like unnatural shit that they're putting into their food, and it's all very controlled and overly regulated. It's not people raising animals the way they should. It's
Yeah.
factory
Yeah.
farming. And so when it comes time to be like, well, okay, this is what we're going to do to the populace's food. Well, it takes like 5 farms to manipulate half the country, rather than like decentralized like we have it over here, where you were able to go to your neighbor and be like, yeah, hey, I want some meat. Like, what can I trade for it, or what can I do for you to get some of that
Yeah,
produce?
there's four meat packing plants for the whole United States. I don't think people realize that
Yeah.
either. So like you get your meat from 4 different places in the whole country if you're commercial. Yeah, so that is not sustainable. And that's the thing. I was talking to a buddy of mine, a very like-minded guy, and he was talking about like people don't understand like, oh, the supply chain is great, but it is so fragile. It is so fragile that you've got like you put one of those places down, like now a quarter of the country is not going to be able to get meat, right? I don't know. It just I feel like they've built it that way, so there's more control over it. The dairy side of things. I don't know. I'm just happy that we're here and we have the ability to not participate in that system.
Yes.
And I feel like
Yeah.
the more people that are thinking along those lines, and then they really do uproot their lifestyle to come to a place like this, they're going to gain more independence and a greater sense of satisfaction in the way that you're living.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody truly wants to be dependent upon anybody else, right? So that's why it's like you gain independence, and then you build community. So the people that have the things that you don't have, like you said, trade happens, and that's how you take some of that power back and realize that they're just going to keep inflating this fake money, and they're going to take that tangible money away from you, right? So that's
Yeah.
when I think
You want to
things
be
are going to get real weird, I think, when that happens.
I think
They're
so.
already creating. So they talked about it during COVID. They just fake dollars. They just created the central bank, like literally just like, oh, more credits. Like, that's not.
Yep. I think it was I forget what the number was, but it's something ridiculous. Like a massive amount of money was made during the whole COVID thing. Like I can't remember if it was more than was in circulation prior to COVID was produced.
Well, you
like just
think about it.
fiat
They would have
zeros.
had to, because they shut down the economy for so long, and they were just giving
Yeah.
free money away. Well, nothing's free, but they're giving money away to people. And then this payment protection program stuff, like it's so fake. It's all fake. It's so weird to think of, like,
And people
but
people figure it out.
you're just born into this thing thinking that you need to chase these things around, right? And they're not even real.
And now we're all trying to live like our great grandparents.
Yeah. It's funny.
Oh,
Return
man.
to monkey.
Yeah.
return to
Yeah.
cottagism.
Yeah, but outside of cottagism, but you're your own lord, right?
Yeah.
Like, not a serf. That was the beauty of what America was. Like, all these people could live outside of serfdom and become their own lords of their own land. And that was the first time it happened in Western civilization, was here.
Yeah.
That I know of, right?
No,
Like,
no,
am I wrong
don't
on
think
that?
so. I mean,
I love history, and I love history because it gains you so much more perspective on where you are right now and how you get to where we are. So yeah, I think like that, my wife and I were just talking about this. They're killing the American dream, like, left and right as we speak, like killing it. They're just trying to make it to where you can't. Yeah. And thank God we got to where we are on the time that we did. And I don't know, like I said, God keeps blessing us, and I'm just happy to be here at this point. I didn't think I was going to live to 30 when I was in the teens, just FYI. Like, now I'm just like, man, I want, obviously, a long, natural, sustained life here to set things up for them and the generations after. I don't want them to go out into the workforce, honestly. I don't want them to leave. I want them to build their homes here and raise families here. Like, that's the point of this whole thing. Hopefully they find partners that are as cool as my wife, but hopefully with us raising them, they will.
Hey, I mean, they're out there. Like, I had no idea it was possible to find, I was like, I'm going to end up a damn hermit the way my brain is. And I found someone who understood it. So, gents, they're out there. There are very special women out there who get it, who are intelligent, and who understand kind of the state of the world, and are looking for a dude who knows what's up and not just going to plug in and tune out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that is definitely the way for people that want to maintain some freedom and sovereignty. Like, my boys are they don't know outside of what we teach them, right? Like, but they don't feel the pressures of the world. They don't. Yeah. And
that's how it should be for kids.
It's so important, man. Like, and they need to know that you're going to love them no matter what, right? Like, your grades don't matter, obviously. Your grades don't matter here, but like, your identity is not wrapped up in your accomplishment. Your identity is wrapped up in well, God first, and then your family, and your identity should be in your works here, not somebody else telling you that you've accomplished things, right? Like, you don't have to be a great athlete, you don't have to be a great money earner, you don't have to go start businesses. I'm already impressed with you living the way that you boys are. I'm looking I can see them in the kitchen right now talking to their moms.
Yeah.
But I'm
awesome.
always going to be impressed by you boys, and I'm always going to love you. They can't hear me. but I'm just
Yeah,
sending
that
it
is
to
so
him.
healthy. That is so healthy. That is a good. That's a good atmosphere for kids to grow up. I think it's so important.
And it's
Yeah.
not sheltered, it's preparing them, right? It's preparing them and giving them identity so they don't get lost into the system. If they do decide to go out there, like they know who they are, and they're going to know from childhood, and I can't ever change time. It's just, I thank God that we're here in everything is in perfect timing, right? And it's like Mikey's 15, young Slade is 13, and Crew's 6. So it's like I still have plenty of time with them,
Oh,
I don't
so
look
much time.
I don't look back and be like, oh man, it's too late. Like I was feeling like that. Like, how am I ever going to be the dad that I need to be? Like, I'm so broken, right? And that's the thing is like, dude, if I don't think I've even explained it how broken I was, right? But if I can do it, man, like anybody can do it for real. If I can come back from where I was, like anybody can do it. And I think that would be the message, right? Like, and the internet can give like basically like my profile is an avatar. That's not me. It's like a representation of me, but it's not my true self, right? And you, as much as you try to keep some authenticity in the things that you're doing, which I try to do, but it's still like it's just a digital representation of me in my life, and I'm not going to share every moment of my life online. I'm kind of private in that way too, and which seems counterintuitive because I do have this online persona, but I don't know, man. Like that isn't who they are. This life is real. This like I'm touching trees and rocks every single day. Like
Literally touching grass.
yes, literally touching grass and dirt and like in communion with nature. And if I can do it, like literally anybody can, right? Like I was plugged into it without realizing I was plugged into it, thinking that I was this independent thinker and all these things. And again, it was like I only know what I know, and you don't know what you don't know. And that's why it's like I want to educate them in things that are real. Like this is real. This life is real. Like being able to build something is real. Having livestock is a real thing. Like that's independence. Like if I didn't have a mortgage, man, I don't think I would even have freaking a company anymore, because I would just focus on this place so hard that like my creative energy is being and I'm don't get me wrong, I love what I do. I love like I have a designer's brain, I guess, I like creating, and that does take energy, and there's a lot of energy that needs to be spent here too. Thankfully, with the homeschooling, with everything homesteading here, I do get to work from home, which is amazing, and I do get to put a lot of that energy into this place still. And that is, now I've found true balance, but I wasn't going to find that anywhere else outside of doing my own thing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful message right there. Well, I got 2 quick questions. We're at 2 hours. I figured 2 quick questions before we head out.
Yes, sir.
But, one thing I was curious about was, have you noticed any of your like former teammates like kind of trending towards this lifestyle? Like, is this kind of mindset something that you've seen start to spread amongst like the team guys at all? Is it something that's kind of emerging with the state of wars in the military right now, or?
So, like I said, team guys, as far as military goes, are probably the biggest independent thinking group within the military. And dude, like all walks of life, bro. Like I had like drug addict dudes from New York that were like, I need to do something different with my life, and they became Navy SEALs, right? Like you have country boys from, name it, Texas, Tennessee, wherever, right? Like all walks of life. And the cool thing is like you're all on a team and you're working towards that common goal. And yeah, like discussions are had, and each dude wants to think, because you're in this mega alpha place, even though I was just like kind of outside of that thing. Like I didn't feel like I was this alpha, I just was like, sometimes I felt like a third party observer to my own life while I was in that place, because I didn't fully, like, it's crazy because I was in it from the moment I was 19 years old till I got out, but I never, like, as much as I felt a part of it, I always felt separate from it too.
Just a guy getting shit done kind of thing.
Yeah, and like I loved it, and I loved the dudes I worked with. For the, like, obviously, you don't love every single person you work with, but you get along to get the jobs done. But I loved so many of those guys, and I still do. And like I said, my heart is always going to be there for even if I don't know you and you work there, my heart's there for you, and I love you. I hate hearing about guys getting hurt or killed. It breaks my heart every time. And to answer your question, I don't know. I know that I get a lot of words of encouragement from guys that are like, man, I love what you're doing. I love seeing where you're at now. And I do understand that it is difficult. Like, if not everybody in your family is in on it, it's hard. But I feel like more and more of the guys coming out of like the long war stuff are looking for more peace and independence outside of the system. I don't know how hardcore they're going. I don't know if they're as hardcore as us. Like I said, we are pretty hardcore, like, on all of our consumption.
Yeah.
So hopefully more people do this, because it is the first time in my life where I've actually felt peace, and I felt like I'm doing the right thing through and through. And it's like I said, the connection I have with my family now is unbreakable, and it gets stronger every day, and my heart grows bigger every day and softer at the same time, which is very necessary to be well, I'll never preach on who should be what, but for me to be a father, I had to soften my heart massively and to be the husband to my amazing wife. Like, I don't know, you just have to give yourself grace too, right? Like, we're human beings. None of us, we're all imperfect. The only perfect man that ever lived was Jesus. So I don't speak in absolutes, and I try not to, at least. And I just keep softening my heart more and more every day. And it's helped me massively to have empathy and sympathy for the world. Even though I know it's wicked and depraved, there's still so many good people out there. And like I said, you can come back from anything. Like, you can come back from anything and turn your heart and your mind towards this, something like this, right? And yeah, that would be the message, man. Like, get that independence, raise that family, teach them everything that you can, honestly. What's the next question, BR?
It's funny because you kind of just answered, but feel free to add on more if you want. I was going to ask, we usually sign off with some dad advice, but I mean...
That was actually really excellent.
But if you got another one in you, if you got another one in you, feel free, but that was stellar.
Yeah, okay. I'll say one more, and I don't want to alienate people, but, honestly, at this point, like...
Oh, no, what, you're not going to alienate it. You're not going to say anything worse than either of us, most likely me, have said on the course of this.
Okay, well, yeah, and like I said, it's not for me to tell anybody how to live. And I even when I was an instructor in the SEAL teams, I would tell people, man, I'm not an instructor, I'm a facilitator. I'm here for you, and I want you to be better, and I'm going to try to make everything as good as I can for you. So what I will say is, like, you can't do it on your own. And when I say you can't do it on your own, like, man, I fought this for so long, and I just finally just gave it up. And I never felt like such peace in submitting my own will, because I've had a strong will, and I still have a strong will, but submitting my will to God and understanding that I have a perfect example as a father, even though I didn't have one here. And yeah, it's given me a lot of peace on how and direction on how to lead and provide and protect my family.
Amen. I mean, it's beautiful what you're doing. Like, I can see you're like, you've got, like you were just saying about kind of empathy and understanding as a father, like that. There is so much strength in being able to kind of submit to that and to be able to display it, and like that. it's really cool to see, and I think a lot of people, their spirituality is a big part of that. Is kind of that pause for understanding and to understand themselves and others better. So
Yeah.
hell yeah, I
Yeah,
fuck that
man.
alienating
Yeah,
you
dude.
also.
Like I
Fuck 'em,
said,
man.
I'm done
Hey.
fence sitting. Like I'm done with it. I'm
Yeah.
I'm choosing a side, and like I said, it's raising the best young men that I can and being the best husband and father that I can be. Like that's it. And I don't know. You can't really do anything. Here's the other thing is like you can't love somebody until you understand that you have to give yourself grace, and you have to be able to love yourself, and you have to be able to forgive yourself, because again, like we're humans and we make mistakes. And like I said, I had a very difficult job that showed me a lot of things that are and exposed me to a lot of pain, right? And yeah, being able to show yourself grace. You're not going to be able to show anybody else until you can do it to yourself, right? Like if you can't fix the world, if your home's in shambles, you can't do anything outside of here that's productive if it's not good here. Everything starts in the home and it radiates outward from there. And if you literally just impact one person, that's enough. That's what my wife is always. She's like, if I just save one, and it's not even save, if I can help one person, because saving is God complex, and we that's not our job. It's to help people come to their own realizations. Like if you can just impact one person positively, then that's enough, right? That's enough.
Absolutely.
Seriously,
Well,
thank you.
thank you so much, Slade.
I've been
It
looking
has
forward
been
to
an
this
absolute
episode.
pleasure.
Awesome, man.
Like I've loved every moment of this episode. Yep.
Yeah, man, it was awesome.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this episode since we were talking about it like a year ago. So I'm glad it finally happened, and hopefully we
Nathan,
can do
who
another.
introduced us initially?
Tim Reach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Broke my heart,
I,
man. It broke my heart so
same.
hard.
I
And that's the thing. That's the thing is like, that's what she's doing. She doesn't. I don't want any of those ever again. We've had so many Sorry, I'm
you're
continuing, but my heart breaks, man.
No. It's an important thing.
I've physically, with my wife, like intervened friends from killing themselves, right? Like, it was so hard. And then I even feel guilt about Tim. Like he reached out to me 2 weeks before, and I was like, bro, I'll get back to you, right? And then I talked to him briefly, and then like we were planning on talking again. And then next thing I know, his wife is hitting me up, telling me he's gone. I'm like, what?
I'm so sorry, man. And same.
No, it's like it's terrible, and that's what I'm talking about. Is like if we have that soft and open heart, like it doesn't need to happen, and nobody need. Hey, if you are feeling anything, and it's like, do not suffer in silence. Talk to somebody. We want you here.
Yeah.
We want you here. We love you. Please don't. It's never so bad that you need to end it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Like you have purpose here. You have purpose here. You're here for a reason. Life is a gift. I'm not trying to speak in cliches, man. This is experiential based stuff.
No,
like,
you're right.
It's so precious. It's a gift, and it is beautiful. And this world can still. There's so much beauty still here. There's so much good still here. No matter how bad it gets, you can always come back.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's
sorry.
No,
sorry, guys.
No. This is not something to It's real stuff, and like you said, that there's so much value in life, and there's we need you, people. You need to. Your family needs you. Your friends need you. Even if you feel like you're not the person for them right now, like you're a drain on them. You're not. You're important. You're loved.
Yes, we are imperfect, and there's grace. There's always grace for you, and forgiveness, and you can make mistakes. You can always come back.
Yeah.
Just don't do that permanent thing, man. Don't do it.
It's
talk to someone.
Yeah, like people are there for you. Just fuck, man. That's
Thank you guys, man. That's the thing is like I'm never gonna start my own podcast. I'm never gonna do this, and I don't spend a lot of time online.
Yeah,
putting
no,
down my thoughts,
that's
so
a good
thank you
thing, I
for
think.
letting me say it.
For people who run a podcast, we neither of us are very online either. It's
Yeah.
Post and ghost.
Post and
Live
ghost,
the real life.
if that.
Yeah.
It's
Fire and forget. Yep.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're here for a good time,
Would
not
much
a
rather
long
be
time.
touching grass. So I'm really glad we finally got to do this. And
Yep.
Again, I hope we get to do it again. You know, you don't live super far, so maybe at some point we'll mag dump into trash. That'd be nice.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And Noveski's here too, so there's gonna. I think we're planning on doing some like community-based events around firearms, of course.
I think that's one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, and it's like family style. Like even I had a meeting with them today. They want like Mikey to be at one of the stations, challenging people.
Yeah.
My son, challenging people,
That's awesome.
right? Like
Yes.
it's fun because like I said, so much beauty and so much love in this world, and like I said, look at the connection that you and I had through Tim.
Yeah.
Right? Like you and I talked because Tim was like, "Hey, you need to talk to this dude. He's cool."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, cool, let's do this." And it was when we were selling everything and getting on the road and just didn't line up. And like I said, in perfect timing, God lays things out, and here we are. Like I wouldn't have been able to have this conversation in this way if it wasn't right now.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have the perspective and the understanding and this lifestyle that we're living right now and have this conversation and be able to get this message out, right?
Yeah.
If it had been before.
And I'm grateful you did.
Man, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate
It's
you.
been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Slade, if you want to follow our
please.
guest, if you don't already for whatever reason, at SlayderRaider on Instagram, right?
Yeah, and then I also have SC Irregulars. It's kind of been dormant. I shifted the brands. SC Irregulars straight up apparel brand, but not any blank stuff. All custom cut and sews coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start making pants and stuff again.
Yeah, you guys
And
used
then,
to do cheap
Irregular
prizes and stuff too. Yeah, I had one of them. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I switched it over to Irregular Defense. So all the defense-based stuff, because I want a total soldier systems company.
Yeah.
Like uniforms, nylon, weapons parts, and all that. And like I said, to include, I have a branded rifle coming out, and it's not just a one-time drop with Noveski. It's a line item thing. I think it's important, right? Like
awesome.
I got my name on the darn thing. I want it to be as good as it can be.
Yeah.
But that's it. Irregular Defense, SC Irregulars, and then SlaydeRaider is my personal one. And then I switched over to Uncle Elon's app as well, the false prophet himself, so I could have the illusion of being able to post gun stuff and not get banned.
Yeah.
But we'll see how long that
Yeah.
lasts.
See, you hear that, Nathan? Twitter, or X, I guess now. Whatever.
I
you
refuse.
want.
I don't want to be any more online than I already am, which is basically none.
That's
Yeah.
that's fair. All right.
Also,
Well, anyway,
Speed's-
if you're on Twitter,
Yes.
check that out too.
Yeah, it's the same. It's just SlayderRaider 250. I think somebody stole my name on Twitter once they realized that was a thing. So it's SlayderRaider 250 on Twitter, and then SC Irregulars and Irregular Defense.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, once again, man, thank you so much. It's been
Yes.
awesome, and I hope we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Let's
But,
do it in person next time.
I'd like that. Yes.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Hell yeah. Let's do
Have
it.
you guys come down to the State of Jefferson and check it out.
Oh, I'd love to.
I'm
I
trying to
haven't been out
bully
there
BR
yet,
to
so
fly
this
up
Brit needs to get.
and do stuff.
I will.
Awesome.
We'll get up to
Boys
the
road trip.
shenanigans.
Let's do it. Pile into my Prius.
Boys road trip. All right. Oh no.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and okay, bye.